Today's guest, Richard Kaufman, is what I would consider a connector. This man is so good at connecting people together. I've seen him do it time in and time out, and I can't wait for us to get into his interview right here on the Manlihood ManCast.
Warning, applying these principles may change your life. People will look at you differently. You'll walk straighter, live bolder, and find out who you are. This is the Manlihood ManCast. Here's your host, Josh Hatcher.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Manlihood ManCast. Today's guest is a veteran. He is a man that has conquered hard and difficult things. His life had fallen apart, but he came back from it. We're going to hear from Richard Kaufman right after this.
Richard, it's great to have you on the show, brother. I've really appreciated our interactions over the past few months.
It's such a great thing to be in your circle, and I really love your group. I get so much out of it every day, and it's helping me become a better man. So thank you for having that group, especially.
Well, no problem. I'm really excited to be able to do it. Honestly, of all the things I do, I think it's one of the most important things I do, and so it's something I try to give a little extra attention and thought to as well. So because I do believe that helping men be better than they are is important, you know, and that doesn't mean that I think that men are bad. I know that we all have struggles and we all need to level up and we need that brotherhood. And so I thought, hey, let's create a place where we can do that. And that's where that came from. So we appreciate your insights in the group as well. And the stuff that you're doing with your podcast and your work as well. It's awesome. And I really appreciate what you're doing. It's good work, man.
Hey, we got to pay it forward. You know, I've been blessed so many times in my life. So now the rest of my life, I'm just paying it forward.
That's awesome. So one of the things that I know that we've talked about before, and I would love to be able to tell our listeners about, I think you've got a really compelling story of kind of how you got from one kind of guy to the guy that you are today. And I think our listeners would like to hear that. Do you think you could tell us your story?
Yeah, I can. If you guys don't know me, my name is Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. The guy you see before you is not the guy that I was 40 years ago. I was the complete opposite of the man that I am today. Before, everything was about me. Everything was about what I can get from others, how I can get over, because I grew up very poor, grew up in an addicted household. So I thought the world owed me something. And I lived that way, you know, up until the morning of September 11th, 2001 is when my whole life changed. But I also came back from a lot, from drug addiction, from alcoholism, homelessness, PTSD, blindness. If you guys can see me, I can't see you because I got to use my Mr. Magoo magnifying glass. So, but I've had to come back from all that stuff. And in the meantime, you know, I've had a lot of people that were mentors in my life if I would have just listened. But now as I get older and they're all gone, I hear their words more and more. So I just try to be the best man that I can be today. I know I can't change tomorrow. I can't do anything about, I can't change the past, but I can change the future by the things that I do today. And I try to live in the present as much as I can. So, you know, retired military, 23 years in the military, would have done 30 if I didn't get hurt. And now I got out, I got medically discharged, and I have my own, I'm a public speaker, podcaster, podcast guest, and I try to be the all-around good guy. So that's a little bit about me.
What led up to that moment on September 11th for you? I know that you mentioned that was kind of a crux in everything for you. What led up to that?
Well, a little backstory. Where we're sitting right now, if I go sit on my front porch, I'm overlooking where the Twin Towers once stood. And I went last week and I took a walk down and I actually got to touch one of the beams from Tower 2. We all knew people that were in the towers that day. And I was in the South Carolina National Guard at the time. And I was due to be thrown out of the military for a second time on the end of September of 2001. But after everything that unfurled and I'm watching, as the whole world is watching, I'm watching and with it. But I also know that there's people that we all know personally that are not coming home. And I got really emotional. And, in the Bible, it says, sometimes you can't really get in touch with the Lord until you become a broken man. And at that moment, I became broken, and I actually crumbled into my couch, and I cried and sobbed. And I said, I asked the Lord, I said, give me a sixth chance, because I've had so many chances in my life. I said, give me another chance at military career if I still have one. And I want to dedicate the rest of my career and my life to helping people that couldn't help themselves like they couldn't on 9/11. And thank God they kept me. And I finished with over 23 years in the National Guard and regular Army. But that day, I went to bed a different person than the person that I woke up as. Like I was getting ready to go to work at GNC. It was all about me. I had the attitude. I got the car. I got the house. I got the girl. I'm smart ass punk. And I woke up. I went to bed that night, and my whole life just changed. Everything changed in that split second. And I think, just like my shirt says, I had my own mental health summit on April 3rd last year. It's called Today I Decide, because if a person's out there that's struggling, you don't have to be the same person that you woke up as when you go to bed tonight. You can decide to change. And sometimes, you have to reach out to men like yourself and, men in a group or, just reach out in prayer, reach out to God and say, listen, I can't do it anymore. I need your help. And that's, instead of showing a sign of weakness, I think that shows more of a sign of strength, asking for help. It's, because like I've been sober now. I just celebrated 33 years. But the hardest thing is, they say the heaviest thing to pick up sometime is the telephone. So, if anybody's out there that's listening to this, if you're struggling with anything, just reach out for help, especially for me, we would rather hear your BS than your eulogy. So, reach out if you're struggling with something and get help and don't become a statistic. And that's what I did that day. I reached out to God and said, I can't do it anymore. I'm done. And he, thank God, I'm still a work in progress, obviously, but that's where everything started to change for me, that moment.
Would you say that moment before that was your rock bottom, or did you hit lower than that as things were coming together?
I hit one of my rock bottom. I've hit plenty of rock bottoms. I was thrown out of the military for being a drug addict and an alcoholic. I got thrown out of my house for being a drug addict and alcoholic because, my mom got sober, got clean, and my stepdad, which is my dad now, I consider him, he got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and worked 2 jobs. And here I am laying on the couch all day getting drunk. So, of course, he booted me out. So that was a rock bottom. I guess I'm the only person you're ever going to have on your show that's actually been thrown out of a crack house. That's how bad my attitude was. And then my main rock bottom was I got a bartending job, and the guy that offered me the job was a police officer. But it was on New Year's Eve, 1989. And he paid me to come down and bartend at his bar. And, everything's going great. Drinks are going, everything's smooth. And 8 hours later, I wake up to him at the door and 5 of his buddies knocking on my door, coming to arrest me because I robbed the place. I gave away like $2,000 worth of free drinks. I had like $5,000 in my pocket. And now, for some reason, I've always had people in my life that have stood in the gap for me. And for some reason, the same guy that I robbed gave me a break. He said, listen, you're 20 years old. If you go to prison in New Jersey, you're going to be somebody's girlfriend. So he said, I'm going to give you a break. Come up with my money in 24 hours, which I did. I begged, borrowed from my parents and paid them back. And he said, but you got to go to 90 meetings in AA in 90 days. And I hit something like 300 meetings in a row. And I haven't had a drink since that day. But that was probably my bottom, because I can remember going to my first AA meeting. Here I am, 20 years old, still drunk, sitting in a church eating nasty cookies and stale coffee, sitting around a bunch of old guys and realizing I can't hang out with my friends anymore because they all drink, they all party. So that was one of my weakest points. That was pretty low, and having to face my parents knowing I robbed somebody. That's pretty embarrassing when the cops come knocking on their door at like 8 a.m. on a New Year's Day.
So you were able to make it right with him and move forward.
Yeah. I wish I would have known I wish I would have remembered who he is today, because I would hug him, I would kiss him, I would take him out for dinner, because, he pretty much saved my life. Because if I kept drinking, I think I never planned on living past the age of 25. So I don't think if I would have quit drinking, I don't think I'd be where I am today.
You then went on with your career in the military. Was this before? Or I think you got a second chance with the military as well, right?
Yeah. I rejoined the military, which is really, really rare because nobody ever gets thrown out and gets back in. But that same day that I got arrested, my uncle and my aunt, like I said, they came and helped bail me out. My uncle made a snide remark. He said, I never knew you would make a career out of it. You're not a military man. And it just stuck in me. It just bothered me. I couldn't sleep at night for months. I'm like, all right, I got to do what I got to do to get back in. And I had to get letters written from like congressmen and from people that we knew. But eventually I did get back in and joined Pennsylvania National Guard.
It's funny because we think of mentorship and we think of like kindness, and when people say nice things to you, maybe a little bit of challenge, but sometimes it's good to hear that harsh word because you need to hear it, even if you don't want to hear it. Like that probably hurt when he said that.
Oh, it destroyed me. And, but the thing is, that same man, he only had like a 5th grade education, but retired as a multimillionaire. So when he said something, it was like Moses on high,
right.
When you get somebody like that that says something like that. And he kind of meant it as like, I guess it was like an off comment, he really didn't think of what he said, I think. But and he actually, he was very proud of me that I got back in and I turned my life around before he passed.
You continued your career in the military, and then you had, what was your experience like there?
Oh, well, like you said, I got back in the military. I still had an attitude problem, and I still got in trouble. I just wasn't drinking, but I still had an attitude problem. Missing drills, showing up looking like a dirtbag, hair long, not shaving, anything like that. So, that's when they were due to throw me out of the South Carolina National Guard on the end of September. Now, when I got there, obviously, if you move from New Jersey to South Carolina, you're known as a Yankee. And, and you look there, they just look at you differently. And then when you have a bad attitude, it kind of makes it even worse, because then, everybody doesn't want to be around you because you're a loudmouth punk from New Jersey. So I didn't ingratiate myself with the soldiers there. But, after on September 12th, I went and I asked my company for a meeting with my company commander, my first sergeant, and they heard all my BS before because I've been busted so many times, but they said they seen something different in me, and I begged them to keep me, and thank God they did. But then I woke up, we had drill the next weekend, and I'm like, what am I going to do different? I don't want to be that guy anymore. So what I did is I got to drill like 2 hours early, and I just stood in a corner and watched what all the successful people were doing. And that's when I started changing, I got busted all the way down to E1 again. So instead of hanging out with the people in my rank, I would start following. I was more of a pain in the ass than anything. People that were 5 or 6 ranks ahead of me, following what they're doing. They get there 2 hours early. I'm going to get there 2.5 hours early. They stay 2 hours late. I'm going to stay late with them. So, and I just started to hang with the winners. And I think, then eventually I got promoted and I became a non-commissioned officer, and I won Soldier of the Year. So then my life, and then I started becoming a man, and, having, as they say in the Bible, sometimes you got to put your boyish ways away, so that's when it all really started for me, was on September 12th, 2001.
Then somewhere along the line, you had an accident, right?
Yeah, I moved to New Jersey because when my wife is the greatest thing, since sliced bread. She's my everything. She's my rock, my world, my bride. But she knew me when I was that drunk 14-year-old. And then we eventually got together 30 years later. And now we're married and have 3 beautiful children. But so she knew the worst of me, but she always knew that there was a softer side to me. So we got together again through Facebook, and I moved to New Jersey and to get together and get married. And my first annual training with my new unit, we were driving down for training, and one of our vehicles broke down. So I had to get out to pull off on the highway, back him off the highway so he doesn't get hit. And instead of I was backing him up, and instead of him hitting the brakes, he hit the gas, ran over my whole right side of my body, ran over my head. And that's why I'm blind till today. I had an ocular stroke. And so that's when I had the accident. And unfortunately, in the military, if you can't see, you can't shoot. So they really don't need you. So they put me in something, now they call it the Warrior Transition Unit, for a year and a half. And I knew my career was coming to an end. I just didn't know what day it was. And it happened to come to an end on Memorial Day of 2012. And that was right after they took my ID and said, you're no longer a member of the United States military, is when I attempted suicide. Because, for the rest of my career from 2011 on, I did everything I could to become the super soldier. I did everything I could to become the best man, the best person I can be, and the best Sergeant Kaufman I can be. And then from them to tell me, you're no longer Sergeant Kaufman. And I didn't know who I was. And it scared me. And I broke down and cried in my new truck. And that was at that moment when I decided I was going to end my life. And that was Memorial Day, 2012.
I'm glad you didn't, for one thing. Glad you didn't. What was that like for you? What was that experience like for you?
And if I get emotional, I apologize.
Nope, you don't need to apologize.
I just want people that out there to know that there's people like me that it's happening to every day. We're losing 35 first responders a day to suicide every day. But had a brand new truck. I always wanted a Dodge Ram. So I was like, bought a brand new Dodge Ram. I was only see out of one eye back then, so I could still drive. And I called my wife, and I wanted to hear her voice one more time because I knew that I was never going to talk to her again. And told her what happened, and we were supposed to meet. I was supposed to meet her and the kids at the shore. We were going to hang out at the beach. My daughter was 9 months old at this time, and so I called her and said, I'm on my way. Now, my plan was, like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. My plan was I was going to get in the truck. In New Jersey, there nothing but concrete barriers all the way down the highways. And I was going to hit 100 miles an hour, hit cruise control, turn on the radio, and eventually go off the road and hit into a pylon. So I get in the truck, call the wife, tell her I'm on my way, and just to hear her voice one last time. And I got the truck up to 100 miles an hour, put it on cruise control, turned up the radio, shut my eyes, and I can feel the truck starting to move. And it's starting to move and starting to move. And I'm just waiting for it to go off the road. And a song called I Saw God Today came on. And I think it was by Clint Black, I think. And it talks about a father seeing his newborn baby girl for the first time. And I snapped up. I see my daughter's face in my eyes, jerked the wheel, and got it back down below 100. And that's the moment that I decided I want to be a daddy. I want to be a husband. So I call my wife. Now, by the way, I've done hundreds of interviews. My wife still doesn't know how close I came to committing suicide that day and her losing her husband and father of 3 children. But I got to her. I said, honey, I need help. I can't take it. I'm going to eat my gun. And she said, no, call the VA Monday and we're going to get you for help. So I called the VA. I got an appointment scheduled to my therapist, which I've been seeing now for almost 12 years. So I call my wife. I'm like, honey, you're not going to believe this. She's like, did everything go okay? I'm like, everything went great. And I said, you're not going to guess who my doctor is. And she said, who? I said, her name is Dr. Seuss. It's just spelled a different way. It's SOOS. She's like, only you can have a therapist named Dr. Seuss. But I've been going to her for the last 12 years, and it's been life-changing. So, guys, if you're listening, don't ever feel bad for reaching out and getting help. It can only help. And there's no shame in having a therapist. And like I said, I've been seeing the same person for 12 years. So that's when, my life started changing to, because biggest thing is, when guys get out of or girls get out of the military or, even police, when they retire, they lose the camaraderie. They like me, my career was over. What do I do now? And I didn't have a mission. And that's when, right after that is when I got to sit down and BS with Gary Vaynerchuk, also known as Gary V. And that's how he's the one that started the whole comeback coach. So it's all his fault. And then that's how this whole thing of helping other people and giving back and trying to pay it forward every day and standing in the gap for somebody, like people have stood in the gap for me. Then later at the end, I'll tell you the story about why I have to wear a hat on every show, or else I will not appear on the show. And it's not because I'm bald either. So
I know that story is emotional to tell, and I want to applaud you for sharing it anyway, because I know that a lot of guys that I've been connected with over the years have been in that position. I was in that position when I was a young boy. I know a lot of people of all ages have struggled with that very thought. And, I think the honest truth is you have a purpose. You're here for a reason. You have a job to do. There are people that are counting on you. And, praise God that he got your attention through a song on the radio, yeah. and praise God that your wife was listening enough to say, hey, it's okay. Let's get some help, yeah. And I'm thankful for that, because I know that no matter where you're at, no matter how hard it is, there's always hope, it can turn around.
Yeah. And that's why, today I decided are the three most important words in the English language. Because once you make a decision, then all you have to do is act upon it. The reason why, everybody I know has ran over a squirrel, right? And the reason most squirrels get ran over is because they can't make a decision. If they would just make the decision to go right and stay right, or go left and stay left, they wouldn't get ran over. But it was because the indecision that kills most of the squirrels. So that's why I say that, the three most important words in the English language are today I decide. Because you can decide anything. You can change a habit in 24 hours, as long as you make that decision that you want to change.
The real question, though, is if you and your wife go out to dinner and you say, where do you want to go, honey? And she says, I don't know. Where do you want to go? Does the cycle stay, or do you decide?
Because I know my wife. I know what. So if she gives me one of those, and then be like, all right, yeah, we're going to go to your favorite place for dinner. And
there you go.
Because, for me, it's like, I did a video this morning because I do my cardio. I walk every day, and I listen to a lot of Audible books. I just take a lot of courses. And, they were talking about that, don't sweat the small stuff. And most of his stuff is all small stuff. Like I'm going to visit my dad in like 2 weeks, and he's dying of pancreatic cancer. And he tells me, enjoy every day that you have. Be present in every day. And other stuff, all right, there is some stuff is important, paying bills, food, all that stuff. But a lot of the stuff that we get stressed and wrapped around the axle, 5 years from now, it's not even going to matter. So, try not to sweat the small stuff, because pretty much it's all small stuff until it gets to the big stuff.
Let's ask this question about the hat then. What's the deal with the hat? Why you got to wear a hat in every interview?
All right. Now, I've actually been interviewed. I've been asked to come on a top 5 podcast in the world. Top 5. And they have like 3 million downloads of each show. And I told him, he's like, I want you to dress up. I want you to wear a shirt and tie and you can't wear a hat. I'm like, sorry, bro, can't do it. And he's like, what? You're turning me down? I'm like, yeah, because I have a higher purpose. What happened was about 5 or 6 years ago, when I just started getting into the self-help space and to help people out, me and my wife went to go see the movie American Sniper. And with Chris, and it got me so emotional that when I got home, I got in touch with Chris's wife. And I said, from now on, any show that I'm on, any podcast appearance, any public appearance that I make, I'm going to wear a hat in honor of your husband, because your husband gave his life to help another soldier struggling with PTSD. So I'm going to keep telling his story, but I'm also going to tell us that story because people don't realize, if you're listening now, there's people like me, like Josh, that are willing to stand in the gap for you until you can get the help. We're here to take the bullets for you. And that's why I wear the hat, just to tell the story and just to give a little context to let people know that you're not alone. There's people like us that are there for you, that if you're not weak, if you're weak, it will be the strength for you until you can get strong. So that's why I do that in honor of Chris. And, I talked to his wife and, I said, and I keep doing it. And sometimes she'll comment on a post that I do just to know that, I'm keeping her husband, the memory. Because sometimes memories fade and we forget. And like I said, it's not just about Chris, but he gave his life helping another soldier struggling with PTSD. So there's a lot of people out there that are struggling, but there's a lot of people out there like us are doing what we're doing to help you. So that's the whole thing with the hat. So, and it doesn't matter what hat, but that's why I do it, just to, give a little context and let people know you're not alone.
I love it. I think that's pretty cool. And it's an everyday, every man kind of thing too. I like to wear a hat. Most of the time, I like to wear a hat if I didn't comb my hair. So, but so I have a couple questions I like to ask all my guests, and I'll ask you these as well. If Little Richard, and I don't mean the goofy singer from the 60s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not that guy. If little you were to walk in the room and you could tell him anything, what would you tell him?
That's going to be okay. That your father may have left you when you were 3 months old, but you have a Father in heaven that's never going to leave you. Everything's going to work out. You're going to go through some problems, some troubles, some strifes, but in the end, everything's going to work out.
I love it. And then the next question is this: what's the most important piece of advice? And it can be multiple pieces if you want, but what's the most important advice that you have for the men that are listening today?
Be humble and be teachable. Because I find, as I get old, like the great poet and actor Roddy Piper once said, sometimes you think you have all the answers and then life changes the questions. And as I realize, as I get older, I have more questions than I do answers. But I think that to stay humble, that's why I love that song by Tim McGraw, Stay Humble and Kind. And I think if a lot more people would, a lot more gentlemen would be more humble and more teachable, I think the world would be a much better place instead of everybody shouting at the rooftops. Some people, because there's a reason God gives you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you can listen twice as much as you hear. Listen twice as much as you talk. So I think those are my two top things are be humble and be kind and teachable.
I love it. That's excellent advice. So if any of our listeners are interested in finding out some more about you, Richard, what's the best way for them to get connected with you and the work that you're doing?
Well, they can pick up my book. It's called A Hero's Journey from Darkness to Light. It's on it's on Amazon for 99 cents. And all the money goes to help veterans that are struggling with PTSD, so I don't make any money off of it. But when I had that lunch with Gary Vaynerchuk, I said, Gary, I'm not leaving until you give me a piece of advice. He says, make yourself a hashtag. And I didn't know what he meant. He says, make yourself a hashtag. So if any public post you do, if you just put your hashtag and the comeback coach, it'll come up on every social media that you ever do, and it's free. So if they just go to their toolbar, put in hashtag the comeback coach, it'll come up on everything that I do. So, and it's free. Free.
There you go. Awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate you. I appreciate your story. I appreciate you being real with us. And I hope that it helps the guys that are listening to ask themselves the hard questions, to talk about, hey, look, I don't want to be in this place anymore. It's time to make a change. And to remember that it's okay. You can decide today to change. That's important. It's awesome.
One more thing, just to make sure that you join our group. Yes, that's one of the most important things you can do is just join the group, and it's free. And if you have any questions about manlyhood, there's always somebody there willing to help out. So definitely join our group.
Awesome. That's the Manlihood Man Cave if you're looking for that. So yeah. And when you're in there, check it out. Richard every now and then will post a video for us. He's got some good stuff. So awesome. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it very much.
Richard, shout out to you, my brother. You are doing excellent work at the Vertical Momentum podcast, and I want to encourage all of our listeners to check out his work and to get connected with Richard. If you appreciate what you're hearing from us here at the Manlihood ManCast, please share this video with somebody. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening to the episode on your podcast player, share, like, leave a comment and a review. Let's spread the word about what we're doing here at Manlihood so that others can get plugged in as well. Listen, guys, I care about you, and I love you, and I'll see you next time.
If you want to be a better man, check out our website, manlihood.com, for blogs, videos, and more from our Manlihood team. Man, you can also join our private Facebook group, Manlihood Man Cave, where you can meet up with a band of brothers who will challenge you and help you on your journey of manhood. This episode is produced by Hatcher Media for manlihood.com. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to the show. Tune in again for more of the Manlihood ManCast.